Oh yeah, well. Good evening and welcome to Leeds Ladies, where we've got Kaylee up here, we've got Lucy over here, and I am Evie. This is your Bournemouth debrief / week in the world of Leeds United. As you can see, we are yet again just ladies only. Joe is loitering in the background like Tyler Adams was during the course of the game on Saturday. So hopefully he will be slightly more productive than Tyler Adams was. Right, we'll get straight into it. Kaylee, how's your week been?
It's been alright. It's been really, really busy. As you may have seen, I've started my placement at Huddersfield Town Ladies. So I'm running their academy's social media account. So I've been busy with that. I also had a full week of uni. Well, I say full week. It's been 3 days, but that went really well.
Be exhausted, that student life for you.
It is, but it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. Lucy, how's your birthday week been?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for mentioning that.
Are you feeling older and wiser?
No.
Leeds is still your chosen club. You've not got wise and decided to go for a club that's not going to break your heart as much.
No,
stuck with it for life.
It'd be stupid not to pick Leeds.
It would be. It would be. We're all a bit.
Neither.
Yeah, mine's been good, thanks. It's I've come down from the kind of frustration of Saturday, and it's, you kind of blink and your weekend's over and you're back at work and everything's like, all right, so you've just got to do it all over again. So yeah, but it's it was helped by obviously the game before us, Brentford, Man United. That game really, it helped ease wounds that I didn't realize needed easing. So yeah, no, my week has been very, very good. Let's get on to how we were feeling going into the game. I think, did we all predict wins?
Yeah.
And we were like 90 seconds away from being right, which
So
is
sad about it.
Yeah, which is it was very, very frustrating and a little bit heartbreaking. But I'm sure that we said, like, before the game, because of how well Iriola has Bournemouth, drilled, and patterns of play that we've seen ourselves under Bielsa. I think realistically, even though it gives me kind of shudders thinking about it, we would have probably been okay with a point before the game, because Bournemouth are now a fairly established Premier League team who seem to be improving bit on bit every year that they remain in the Premier League. And even though they're they don't have the historical things that we have and that make us such a fantastic club, there's no denying that right now Bournemouth are in a better position all round than we are. So a point is devastating, but not the end of the world. It was just, we don't want these points to be the points that could have kept us up at the end of the season. You know, how many times did we have that in the promotion season that didn't happen under Farke? You know, that we were so close and we just let silly things happen. Or do we reckon that just goes to show that Bournemouth's quality shone through in the end? Lucy, what do you think?
I feel like it's a little bit of a bittersweet one, because I think if you'd have asked me before the game, I'd have been all right with the point. But I think it's almost the manner that we lost and how late we actually conceded. And it actually did make it feel like a loss. Now, the Bournemouth players did actually come and celebrate in our corner, so you can imagine I wasn't best pleased with that. But yeah, I think it's another point. It's another point on the board. Bournemouth have only dropped points at Liverpool away this season, so you can't really argue with that, you know. So yeah.
What were your thoughts on? I've seen that online it become a you know, this kind of stick to beat Farke and the team with, in terms of Fulham and Bournemouth. We've dropped points, you know, late on in literally the dying seconds of the game. Do you think that that's something that we should be concerned with, Lucy?
I think it all comes down to game management, and I think perhaps we sit way too deep sometimes, and sometimes I think, do we need to invite all this unnecessary pressure onto ourselves? But the team are growing week upon week. You can see that by match. So I think it's just a case of waiting for it all to just gel together.
Yeah. What do you think, Kaylee? Like Lucy mentioned about do we sit too deep? You know, do we invite unnecessary pressure, or is it just a simple case of probably fighting? You know, like waiting the game out is not the end of the world, especially when you've got 2 minutes left of a game.
I think we're only disappointed in the Bournemouth game because of how it ended. So if we were all the way through a draw, then we would have been fine. But it's just the fact that we were winning 2-1 and then all of a sudden it's a draw is where we're seeing an issue. If it just stayed consistent throughout, then we would have been fine, but it hasn't. So what is going on? It must be a tactical issue. Although I do think our defence looks really strong still.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of those two games of Fulham and Bournemouth, how is Farke supposed to guess that, you know, Goodmanson scores one of the best own goals that you're going to see this season with such a freak header, and Tanaka, who's clearly not match fit, you know, he's physically fit, but he's not match fit and match sharp, is going to hold on to the ball. And I think, in my opinion, that ending is completely different if Tanaka just releases the ball to Bogle. If he just does that and doesn't do a little twirl like like we loved him for in the Championship, because it's a different level. You know, you can't do that in the Premier League. And for as much as it's Bournemouth, well, actually, Bournemouth are a good Premier League team at this moment in time. So, you know, you could kind of say maybe if it was Wolves, if it was West Ham currently, that there's an argument to say, well, they're more our level, so maybe he could do that. But how is Farke supposed to prepare for that? You know, we were soaking up a lot of pressure, but we looked fairly comfortable in doing so. And I don't think anybody mentions Farke's substitutes, Farke's tactics, if those two goals don't happen, all of which I don't really feel is on the manager. What do you think, Kaylee?
I don't think it's Farke's fault to begin with. There's a lot of people saying Farke out, which I don't think that's necessarily the right choice at all. But for Bournemouth, you knew a goal was coming anyway. Like we did play well at the beginning. I thought DCL had a good start to the game, but you could tell that something was going to happen. And can I just discuss their first goal for a sec? What the?
I mean, I'd rather not. I'd rather just pretend it all didn't happen. But yeah, go ahead.
Like he kicked it at the wall, and then the wall jumped up, almost letting the ball fall underneath the feet. So it was like there was moving out the way, so the ball could directly go into the goal. It's like they set it up.
Yeah, it's almost like, again with Gabby's own goal 2 weeks ago, it's like the perfect reverse free kick in terms of, you know, like I'd love it if like we did that and we created a, you know, little wall of our own, and you know, it's like a brilliant worked set piece if that's the case. You know, we've seen it before where, you know, people just jump and the ball slides under. I'm sure that I can't remember, it was an international game and it was between Argentina and the Netherlands, and I can't remember which team it was, but did that where they jumped up and the ball just slid underneath. So yeah, if it was the other way around, we'd be absolutely saying, oh my god, you know, set pieces, we're just, you know, we're top notch for these set pieces all of a sudden. But yeah, defending them, we weren't great with either one. I think the second one you could forgive maybe a little bit more, because the first one was so basic. Just stay strong, let the ball hit you, and then what were your thoughts and feelings and emotions, Lucy, on that free kick?
At the time I was like, oh, here we go, if this is how it's going to go, then sort of thing. But as I've sort of watched it back over the week, obviously Aronson's the one lying down behind the wall, being the draft excluder. Now I do think the ball does bypass him quite a lot, so I do think we'd have more of a chance if there was a taller player lying down.
But and I think maybe if you're going to jump, then you need that extra height in the wall anyway. There's so many ways that you could spin that. You know, is it Carl Darlow's fault because it's the goalkeeper's job to organise, you know, his wall and draft excluder? And please, can I not be the only one that just loves the phrase draft excluder?
I've noticed.
In the commentary, I heard a group of men talking about draft exclude, like using the phrase draft excluder more than I did, especially because it's just not something we know what it is, but it's just not something that's constantly used. Like, oh, he positioned his draft excluder wrong. Well, if the draft excluder wasn't like, well, Jesus Christ, like, but yeah, it wasn't the best positioning from Aronson, and it wasn't the best positioning from Carl Darlow. I think that there's a lot that can be said for maybe the goalkeepers a little bit. Our fan base seemed to be so quick to blame Aronson for everything. And I'm not going to say that I'm like super pro Aronson, but I have to admit he has been better for us this season.
I agree.
And I thought he was going to be. I know obviously he hasn't scored or anything yet, probably never will, but I do actually think he's offered more in these 6 games than he probably did in the 38 that he played for us last time around in the Premier League. I saw some stats about his clearances from corners, and I think he's something like 3rd or 4th in the league for clearances and defensive actions from corners. So that's why he gets in. You know, that's why Farke chooses him, because we don't have the say of the ball like we did do in the Championship. So we need players who are going to dig in and do the hard work. So maybe a little bit, you know, we've all been singing Dallow's praises over the last few weeks, and I don't think he deserves to drop out of the team either. I don't think he did anything ridiculous that meant that Perry should get back in this weekend.
I agree.
But maybe a little bit more blame needs to go on Darlow rather than just Aronson being used as a bit of a scapegoat. I don't know if anybody else disagrees with that.
I agree. I think lots of people love to hate Aronson, and I don't get it. I don't get Aronson hate. I'd prefer him over Daniel James. Is that controversial?
Yeah.
Dagger to my heart.
I don't
Absolute
think
dagger to my heart.
I don't think Daniel James has looked himself recently, and I don't think he's been quite up to Premier League standard. Like, it's a huge step from the Championship to the Premier League, and it's just not made that jump. But I think Aronson looks really good. What do you think to Daniel James's injury then?
I think that the poor lad hasn't been given the chance to get actually fit since he got injured towards the end of last season. I think he was pushed to play for Wales, and because he is such a hard worker, he wouldn't want to try and let anybody down. And I think we're seeing the ramifications of that so far this season, is that he hasn't looked great. And I, unfortunately and very unwillingly, agree with you there. And then obviously with the injury against it was against Wolves, wasn't it? Or was it against Fulham? No, it was against Fulham, yeah. He hasn't been the Dan James from the last 2 seasons. So I don't know. I'm getting flashbacks of Bamford, and hear me out. And I think that this might speak to you, Kaylee, because we all know you're Bamford. But Bamford was never allowed to get better properly because we needed him in the team. So he was always rushed back because we never replaced him. You know, we never got somebody who could do his role. You imagine if we'd have got Calvert-Lewin at the same time and having Bamford, you know, somebody who could do that exact role, and then they could take it in turns being injured. But I think that Dan James is suffering from the same, you know, with that. And I hope that we don't see the same with Ampadu as well, because Ampadu is always comes back very quickly. Now, he might just be a very quick healer, but I hope that we're not flogging these players to the point where it could end up at their detriment, but more importantly to Leeds United. And now, even if it is a few weeks, you know, they're talking now maybe 6 weeks. Obviously, it went from months and months to weeks. But I just hope that we don't rush him back and that we do allow him to get better. It's almost like we should have bought a right winger in summer or something. But
how come he's in the Welsh squad then if he's out for us for 6 weeks?
I think he's been named, but I don't, and I think he'll turn up and then come home. I don't think he will actually play, because if I'm Leeds, you know, I'm saying you can't go play for your country, and you know, we pay you wages type of thing, you know. So, and I don't think Dan James would do that. So, Danny's just put in the chat that that's the provisional squad. So obviously people are likely to drop out with that. So what were your thoughts, Lucy, on the, you know, when we were initially getting the news of Dan James with long-term injury potential?
Yeah, my thoughts were Aronson, I think his work rate can't be knocked, and I think it's second to none. And everyone will be aware of this, I just don't think he's sort of the person from an attacking perspective. So I was thinking, so then if Aronson gets injured, who have we got then? And then I'm thinking, this is not good. This is not good.
Especially with Nonto, with no return date so far with Nonto. You know, if he was on the bench, I don't think we're even, and again, you know, everybody knows my love of Dan James, but I don't think we're talking about Dan James if we've got Nonto on the bench ready, kind of thing, because then we've still got 2 wingers for both sides. I don't know whether my internet's gone off there. Am I still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. My screen froze then for a second. Heart dropped. Speaking of heart-dropping moments, but this time we'll go for a positive heart-dropping moment. Set pieces and Longstaff. Specifically corners and Longstaff. Like, we not only did we score from them, we looked repeatedly dangerous from them. I mean, obviously he's scored what I think 3 professional goals ever has Rodon, and 2 of them have been for us within the last 12 months. So clearly Leeds United, he was, meant to be. And as any professional footballer, no matter where you play on the pitch, to score a goal in the Premier League is not an easy thing to do. So I didn't quite, neither of our goals, I believed, went in as soon as they hit the back of the net, because hey, we don't score off set pieces. What are we doing? Rodon doesn't score, and we don't score from set pieces. So the 2 things combining, Lucy, what were your feelings when he got up there and he scored?
I think there was a chant in the cheese wedge of "We've scored from a corner," and I thought that just sums everything up. That just and because I actually turned around to my granddad and I went, "Do I need to go to Specsavers, or have we actually just scored from a corner?" He's like, "We've just scored from a corner." I'm like,
bizarre.
That is good.
It was, and Kaylee, I noticed Rodon kept on asking for him to put it on his head again and again. So throughout the game, it was like, you know what? I know I've only scored 2, this is my second goal for Leeds United, but apparently I'm going to get a brace in this game. And he was determined. He kept on going for that same header. Obviously the true Rodon kind of kicked in and he didn't get it again. But, it was nice to feel that, are we a threat from set pieces now?
We look like it. That goal was spectacular. And I think Rodon got loads of confidence from it, which boosts morale. But both goals were really good. Just amazing. I've got no words. I was speechless when they went in. I was like,
and he is the only, so far this season, he's the only player from last year's promotion team to have scored a goal so far this year.
Really?
Yeah, because all of the other goals have been scored by new signings.
Yeah, we haven't really scored many goals to add to that list anyway.
Hey, come on. We're only 6 games in and we've played Arsenal and we got a 0-0 with Newcastle. So, we're slowly.
We've had 5 and 2, Kaylee. We've had
what was that?
Last 2.
Fair enough. Can't argue with
so
that.
If we're just looking at the range of the last 2 games, we are goal-scoring machines.
Set piece takers.
Oh, honestly, defenders scoring goals for fun. Yeah, it's been fantastic. And let's talk about the bizarrely spectacular. In fact, before we talk about Longstaff's goal, let's talk about a player who I think understatedly is becoming an absolute machine down that left-hand side. He may have scored an own goal 3 games ago, but Goodmanson,
I love him.
And the way that he fights for that ball and is determined to not let anybody take it. He protects it like it's a newborn, baby kind of thing. That ball is not leaving him, and he was determined by the byline to just. He didn't even want it to go out for a corner. He was like, no, I want my team to keep the ball, and he sheltered it. Lucy, when you saw him kind of fighting for that ball, what were you thinking? Were you thinking we were going to potentially give away a foul? What thoughts were going through?
It was actually nice to see. It was really nice to see, and you could see the sort of hunger in his belly to actually make something of it, sort of thing. And I was saying this to my granddad the other day. I feel like the own goal at Fulham has sort of give him a little bit of extra motivation, a little bit.
Like that hunger in his belly. What a great phrase. Kaylee, what do you think about our Gabby?
Oh, I love him. I think he's one of our best players. Like Lucy said, yeah, he definitely has that hunger and that drive to be the best he can be, and that's what you need within the squad. You want someone who is willing to put up a fight, whether we're losing 5-0 or drawing 2-2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just love him. I think
he's finally got a left back that can defend and attack.
Yeah.
Don't say it too loud. Don't say it too loudly. It might scare him, and it might scare him away. You know, we don't talk about these things just in case. We don't want to curse us, but he's certainly making a better impression on the Leeds crowd than his the person who he replaced in Junior Firpo when he first started for the team. You know, we're able to. We're not just reliant on kind of the centre backs really doing the defending. We can actually, you know, our back four can all defend, because I actually think Bogle is getting better in terms of his defensive duties. He's not giving away as many silly free kicks. You know, he gave away a lot of free kicks last year, and I would say that he's probably started the season better in the Premier League than he did in the Championship. And I think we've got real tenacity from our fullbacks in terms of Gabby seems to go a bit more than Bogle is, which surprises me in terms of he ventures forward a lot more. Now, that might be to do with the fact that Bogle at the minute hasn't had a consistent partner with him. You know, he started with James, then Nonto, now Aronson. So until maybe he develops that relationship with Aronson, as we've discussed, Aronson isn't the best attacking player when it comes to the give and go, and he doesn't have the highest footballing IQ either. But one of the bits that really made me go, wow, was when, and again, Aronson ended up fluffing his lines in the end, but when the ball was going out for a throw-in and Bogle managed to I think, did he head it back in? I thought it was going out for a throw-in. It was in the second half, and I thought it was going to go in for a throw-in, and he launched himself down the pitch, got the ball, and kept it in as well. And that drive, that desire to play and to play for the shirt as well. And it's something that obviously the last time in the Premier League for the relegation season, other than the OGs of like Luke Ayling and people, we didn't really see that a lot. So to see that from all these newbies, you know, who don't have an emotional connection yet with the club and aren't fans of the club, for me, that's why I think we have a really good chance of staying up, is because from very early days, that sense of community has been drilled into them. And I think that comes from Farke in terms of his man management and team management really gives us that extra edge. You know, they want to play for one another. If somebody fluffs their lines, there'll be a little bit of berating in that moment. But once it's done and sorted. You know, there's no bitterness. They just feel like a team. And we haven't seen that, you know, when we were last in the Premier League. We didn't see that in the final season. So I think that gives us a real chance to stay up. We're going to have to, let's talk about Longstaff's goal, because I got sidetracked and, you know, went into a little daydream of Goodmanson. But obviously from Goodmanson fighting and winning the ball and keeping it and passing it to Okafor, and then Okafor shooting it, coming out. I just thought it was going to be a moment where we just peppered the goal and it just wouldn't go in. I thought we were going to be screaming at the TV of just, oh my God, somebody just put your laces through it. And somebody did. And the very unexpected person, really, out of the group of players that were around there, I wouldn't have really given it to Longstaff to, you know, to get that goal. But it took me a good few seconds, probably more than I should admit, to realise that it went in. Me too. What were your thoughts, Kaylee, when it went in? Did you realise straight away? Did you like, who scored that? You know, what an absolute, you know,
I saw
fluke
it.
of a goal.
I saw it happen. I was like, no way, he's a bit ambitious there, isn't he? and then it went in, and I couldn't actually believe it. I was like, how has that got in? It's absolutely speechless. What do you think about it, Lucy?
I knew it had gone in just from the reaction of the crowd. I'm only 5'2", so I can't see over that family stand when they stand up. So I knew it had gone in from that. And when I've watched it back, what a hit! I don't think he'd ever hit a ball like that ever again in his life.
No. It was so ambitious.
I like it.
It was, but that's great to see, isn't it? You know, to see how many times. Yeah, how many times have we screamed, especially like last season when we were putting teams to bed fairly easily without even having to score loads and loads every game. We just smothered them and it was kind of done. You know, if we scored 2, we essentially won the game kind of thing. But it's nice to see that people are willing and have the confidence to take that shot, and they're seeing their margin to go through, and even unexpected players are going to get us goals this season. And again, when we've got a striker that scoring goals isn't necessarily their kind of their best thing that they're good at, it's nice to see that we do have goals coming from other areas. And I think as well, it really cements Longstaff as a Leeds player now. You know, he's got that kind of, he's got a goal. He's he got goal and an assist with the corner. I love the grit and kind of determination and everything. I think that again we're going to need that as we go through the season, because we've started fairly well. You know, we've certainly started better than the 6 teams from the last 2 years, but it's a long way to go, and a lot of Burnley fans would come back and say out of the 3 teams they've had the most difficult start to the season. So maybe this is where I was saying at the beginning in terms of we don't want to rue our chances. You know, we should have got 3 points. Everything about that game says that we should have got 3 points. Even the XG, which I know that a lot of people don't take masses away from XG, but the XG says we should have won 2-1 exactly, because we had something like, I think it's 1.76 and XG, and they had 0.82. So literally we should have won that game 2-1, and nobody, including their own manager, would have said that we didn't deserve it, because we did. You know, I believe up until our game, Bournemouth had only conceded about 25 shots on goal all season so far, and we then had 19 shots on goal. So not only is it their worst game, we did that. You know, Leeds, you know, it's not just luck. You know, it wasn't just a fluky game. We did that. And Lucy, you said earlier on about the fact that the team is starting to gel and things like that. And we were all panicked, and now we've scored goals from open play. I can say, yes, I was panicking about us never scoring this season and things. But the fact that we've gone from a fairly lackluster, you know, goal or shot shy team, we now seem to be able to compete. And, you know, obviously we should have got the 3 points, but at least we are proving early on in the season that we can compete at this level and get points from those that we need to get points off. You know, we didn't need to beat Bournemouth. We needed to beat Wolves, and we needed to beat Everton.
Really starting to look like we belong now. Barring Arsenal, I don't think anybody's particularly played us out of the park, sort of thing.
No, I agree. I think that, you know, we might not get and now this might be a little bit controversial, because I don't think that any team should, you know, we should ever write a team off as what's the phrase? Free hit. I don't think we should ever write anybody as a free hit. But there are certainly going to be games this season where we are not expecting to get things from them. You know, Liverpool look fragile though at the minute, so I wouldn't mind playing them soon. But I don't think we don't need to get points off Liverpool. We don't need to get points off Man City. We need to get points off Wolves. We need to get points off Everton, West Ham, Burnley, Sunderland. And I know Sunderland are playing well, but they are in. We were 25 points last season better than them. So we haven't lost that many players to say that we can't beat them again.
Yeah, I feel like Aston will be a challenge for them as well. I feel like they've got loads of players out for that. Yeah.
It'd be nice. I mean, I want us to stay up, and that will always be my ultimate kind of screw everybody else as long as we're okay. But I would also like to see at least us and Sunderland stay up. Burnley, I'm not too fussed either way. They've been up and down quite like a fair bit recently. Just because it would be nice to see some teams that are maybe a little bit entitled go down and just have a freshening up of the Premier League. I think it's
home base is a very Premier League worthy sort of thing with us and Sunderland.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd be nice to bring a bit of old school back into the Premier League and have teach these younger fans of the bigger clubs what it actually kind of means to support your team when you're not doing well. Because that's a lot more difficult to do than it is when you're doing well. We'll briefly talk about the gut punch, but we'll get on to other bits afterwards. But we do have to talk about the equalizer. For me, I love Tanaka, but for me, the main person, whether you include the manager or just the players, the main person to blame for that goal is Tanaka. He didn't get his head in the game, and it was only, I think, maybe his second or third touch. And it ended up being quite a decisive for all the wrong reasons. Lucy, what were your feelings when that goal went in?
Depressed. It's a good word. I was like, it was all going so well. I thought I was going to get my birthday 3 points, and now look what they've done.
Oh God, yeah, we need to clip that up and send that to Leeds United so that they can all feel guilty and stuff.
I can't trying to prescribe football on the NHS for people.
I know.
Makes me help.
Makes me more depressed. Never mind about happy.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, everybody's will get diagnosed with, a whole range of different things if they start prescribing football. The side effects will way outweigh the pros.
Leeds make me depressed.
Yeah, they do. It you go from Longstaff and just feeling unbelievable, and then to you see, Danny's got a point there. You got a point for your birthday, so it's better than a loss.
We'll have a free one.
Exactly, a delayed birthday. It's a birthday week, so it's fine.
You might get a point. We might get 3 points on Saturday. Who knows?
Yeah, against Grey versus Grey. Kaylee, how were the levels of your depression after that second goal went in?
Bloody hell. So obviously we scored in injury time, didn't we? So I was like, we could get another goal. We've done it before. Do you remember like Roof when he used to do it? And then it got closer to the end. I was like, I'm being ambitious here, but obviously we didn't get the winner. But I just felt disappointed, a little bit optimistic and a little bit disappointed. But I try not to let Leeds ruin my mood as much as it used to. So I try and stay happy.
Yeah. I've not quite got there.
No,
If I did, I'd be constantly sad. So I can't live like this.
I think that's what every Leeds fan says. I just can't live like this. I just can't do it. And then we do it every single week, and obviously twice a week if you're in the Championship, which we were for too long.
In a toxic relationship with Leeds United.
Absolutely. I think we should have that printed on a t-shirt, to be honest.
On a mug.
On a mug. you and your mugs.
I need to buy some more.
So it felt like a loss. It felt very close to me to that Sunderland game last season in terms of it was there. We could touch it. We could sense it. We could see the table with 11 points on the board. It was there. It was done. It was dusted. We just had to not do anything stupid. That's all we had to do. Just don't do anything stupid. And in rolls Leeds United.
Typical.
But exactly. And if we did it easy, it wouldn't be Leeds, and the extreme euphoria that we feel when results do go our way wouldn't feel quite as sweet. So It was a good point. And if we can do something similar away at the Vitality Stadium, is it, for Bournemouth? If we can do something away there, then that would be sweet. I think it's just frustrating as well that obviously that's the first ever point that they've taken from Elland Road as well. So that did make me feel a bit sad, because I was saying to my husband, "Oh, I've got a really fun fact for you after the game, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to jinx it." And then we conceded, and I was like, and that's why I don't say things, because otherwise it ruined it. So let's go back into the game and the pantomime villain of the game, Mr. Tyler Adams, who the Elland Road crowd treated him exactly how I thought that he would be treated. He was booed every time he was on the ball. He loves to play the villain, the big I am, that I don't care. By the time he went off, he was shaken, like he was rattled, and that was beautiful. You know, as Phil here would say, and it was beautiful. I loved that. Obviously, he went in on Stack. Yeah. And that was after, I'm pretty sure the whistle had already been blown by the time he actually makes contact with Stack. So that was naughty. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. And you know exactly what you're doing as well. You know, he's very calculated. Everything's done and said, and he understands what he was doing there. He understood what it was going to be like for him in that atmosphere there, wearing the opposition shirt. I don't know about you, but I didn't think up until maybe the second half that Ampadu as a player was having his best game. But in terms of captaincy, I thought he was fantastic, because with that Stack foul, he cleared everybody away, he calmed everybody down. He refused to let anybody get booked by doing something stupid. And then in the second half, he went for a ball that he was never going to get and left something, a little more than something, on dear Tyler Adams. And it made me fall in love with Ethan Ampadu just that little bit more, because that's
of the game.
Exactly. That's how you do it, you know. And he just went for the ball. Whereas Adams didn't. The ball had gone. So it was just a silly foul whereas I think Ampadu's quite clever when it comes to fouling people, that he can protest, he can say he's a bit innocent, it's all for the game, it was all for the game. Kaylee, what was your reaction to the strategic avoidance of a header for Ethan Ampadu?
I was like, you show Tyler Adams who's boss.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just love the level of shithousery, if I'm honest. I just love Ampadu. And the fact that what I said before. I can't think of a point to add on to that.
Lucy, were you one of the ones who were part of the biggest cheer of the afternoon?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like everyone was just like, "Yep, you've done well there," and I think it just showed that Ampadu gets what it is to be Leeds, sort of thing, and it's nice to have that your captain understands, and it's just nice to see that.
It's nice that even in this day and age, Premier League football, it can be quite sterile at times. There's not as much grit and dirt and nastiness in it, especially with VAR. And that's why I think that Ampadu is clever, because he does enough to get the crowd on side and to make his point, but without doing something stupid to get himself sent off. I love that grit. And I think as well that you've hit the nail on the head, Lucy, with the whole, he gets what it means to be Leeds. Even in, this will be his third season, he's seen the roller coaster that is Leeds United. He's seen us get battered by QPR. Like, he's seen us lose a playoff final. He's seen us win the championship. He's seen us having, as much as he can remember, an open top bus parade throughout Leeds city centre, and and then he's seen us now compete and win games in the Premier League, and also get battered by Arsenal. I know obviously he wasn't involved in that game, but he's been there, he's experienced it, and I think that he is going to be a really potentially a brilliant captain for us going forwards, because even though he hasn't grown up being a Leeds United fan, or anything like that, but he gets it. He's finally found a home. He's been a bit of a nomad.
Alone, didn't he? Yeah.
So I think the fact that we've taken to him, he's taken to us, he's been kind of like the runt of the litter in terms of, being at Chelsea and then been loaned out everywhere and things like that. He understands that feeling of nobody liking you, and nobody likes Leeds. You can hear it through, Alan Shearer's every time that he speaks about Leeds. He loathes us. He loathes saying anything positive about us. So I enjoy seeing his face when it contorts in all sorts of weird shapes when he has to say something positive about Leeds.
Love it.
Shall we, now that we've covered basically everything, the disappointment, but also the positives that we can take from that game, shall we move forward and talk about the weekend's game, the upcoming home game against Tottenham? And with our maybe slightly more realistic Leeds heads on, what we actually think that we could get. Kaylee, I can see you sneakily smiling there. What's your Leeds head / sensible head / outrageous head saying about this weekend?
Am I ever sensible? I think it's going to be 2-1 to Leeds, and that's ambitious. But I get a feeling we're going to win, because Tottenham's not been in full form recently, have they? I know they're 4th in the league currently.
They've had 3, if you include Europe, they've had 3 back-to-back draws.
Yeah, so we might be able to get a point there. I think my ambition is saying 2-1, but I get a feeling it'll be 1-1, either 2-1 or 1-1. I can't decide which. Ambition is saying 2-1. My head's saying 1-1.
Lucy, what are you thinking?
I watched them against Wolves the other night, and I weren't too impressed, you know. Other than the sort of Vitinha with the added time goal, I didn't think they were up to much at all. And obviously, we beat Wolves quite comfortably. Obviously, it's a different game. You don't know who you're going to face. But I know they played in the Champions League last night as well, so they'll have a bit less time to recover. So maybe that'll help us. I think they have got quite a few injuries as well. So
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, I think they came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 last night.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game. I was watching the Liverpool game because they were against that club that we really don't like, and unfortunately that club won. But I think, and as well, just to go back to the Wolves game against them, Wolves recently have had a very good record. They haven't lost. They've only lost, I think, once in the last 4 years against Spurs. So they're a bit of a bogey team for Spurs. But they did draw, is it 2-2 against Brighton?
Yeah.
As well the week before. So they've had Spurs, I think, are probably the nearest thing to Leeds in the Premier League in terms of, you know, like we call it Leedsy, they call it Spursy. You know, we've got quite similar, you know, we can hit the self-destruct button and so can they. So I think it's almost like who's going to hold their nerve, you know, the most. And obviously, I think, again, the Elland Road crowd are going to be really, really important. So, Lucy, I'm just saying. I think that if we start on the front foot, we stand a very, very good chance. What I would say is, obviously, other than the Brentford win on the final day of 21-22 season, we don't have a particularly great record against Thomas Frank. So that's something that maybe we have to be wary of. I'm not sure what Daniel Farke's record actually against Thomas Frank is, but I really do think that Elland Road is going to play a massive part in that. And obviously Bournemouth beat Tottenham earlier on in the season as well. So if we drew with Bournemouth beat Tottenham, in theory, we should absolutely smash Tottenham by that logic. So, absolutely. I think that I don't think we should be afraid of this game. I also don't think we should be cocky, but I don't think we should be afraid. I would be very happy with a draw. And I really do think that, because, again, this isn't Tottenham of last season. If it was Tottenham of last season, I would say that let's just go for it. You know, like they're just leaky as hell at the back. But obviously, there's going to be goals involved. I don't think it's going to end 0-0 if it is a draw. It will be a score draw if that is the case. But I think we can edge it. I really have. There's just something about. And also, it'd be nice if we had a good result against Tottenham, because they've been a bit of a crap team for us over the last, you know, couple of seasons when we've played them. You know, we lost Bielsa after losing 4-0 to them. We should have beaten them in the 4-3 game away at Spurs. And then obviously they relegated us in the 4-1 game on the final day of the season. So, yeah, we don't have a great recent record against them, but a lot has changed in that time. They don't have Harry Kane anymore, and he loved a goal against us. So I think that if we can continue that positivity, learn from our mistakes, then I think we can get something out of it. And to be honest, I'm happy with a something. It's not, I think as long as it isn't a last minute draw, like you said, Kaylee, earlier on, if we'd have just been drawing against Bournemouth, for the majority of the game, that draw doesn't sting. So I think as long as we're drawing for a lengthy period of time and we don't have a last minute clanger, then I'm happy with a point. With Spurs, we're tracking for just over a point per game.
Yeah, we're on
and
track.
the likelihood is that will be enough to keep us up this season. So another point, it's another big threat of a team ticked off as well. So again, for as much as I do see us getting something against Spurs, we don't need to beat Spurs. We need to beat the teams in and around us. Those are the games that are the must wins. Anything from this game is a bonus. So yeah, I think so. You're saying, Kaylee, are you going with your heart or your head? Come on, let's go. Let's.
I usually go with my heart. Let's go with my heart. 2-1 Leeds.
Okay, Lucy, go on then. What's yours?
2-2.
Oh, I was going to go 2-2. I will go something different. I'm going to go for another wild score. I'm going to go for 3-2.
Go on.
3-2. Let's have a goal fest.
Unreasonable.
It's only unreasonable if you don't believe. You've got to believe. You've got to believe.
Absolutely. If you don't believe, then what's the point?
Exactly.
Might as well just pack it in now and all become Man City fans. Yeah, I know, exactly. And
don't say that.
Right, girls. I think we're about done really today. I think we've discussed everything. Is there anything that we haven't brought up? I didn't have Lucy's wonderful notes this week, so if we've missed anything, then I'm going to fully blame my lack of note-taking ability myself rather than being able to copy the teacher's pet's notes.
Can I just discuss DCL for a second?
Yes, let's go for it.
I thought he had the ability to hold up and link up play very well. He showed awareness, which shows to me that his skills aren't just about finishing. So he's not scoring the goals, which is an issue, but he's showing potential, but without credentials.
What do we think of being able to go long? Like, we haven't had the actual chance to go long, because usually if we've been hoofing the ball up the pitch, it's just because the goalkeeper has no out ball, and in order to play out nice pretty football from the back, we've actually got a person that we can go long to. Because even Bamford, he was never really a receiver of the ball when it. I know, I'm sorry, Kaylee. Well, you insulted Dan James, so this is just me getting back. He wasn't able to receive the ball. Every time the ball went up to Calvert-Lewin, he got the ball, he took it down fantastically, and then played somebody else in. What is it like, Lucy, to be able to go long without just thinking, well, we've given them possession?
It's just not very Leeds, is it? It's just not something we're very sort of used to, sort of thing. I feel like he could have had we could have been 3-0 up at half time. We could have had a hat trick, so or at least 2. I think the first one came a little bit too early in the game almost. But his hold-up play has been brilliant, and we've got goals coming from other areas, midfield, defence, it's not as much as a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think if the goals dry up from other places, then maybe we need to be concerned that the striker isn't striking the ball in the back of the net as often as he should.
That's his job.
Yeah, exactly. But I also think that because of that lack of finishing, he robbed Aronson from possibly the greatest ever assist because you don't often get overhead kicks assists. So it would have been a superb assist, something to go on his highlight reel so that when we sell him at the end of this season, he looks like a professional footballer. So I think if I think if Calvert-Lewin can connect with the back of the net 50% of the amount of times that he can, shoots at the net, then we're very, very happy. Very, very happy. He's had, I saw a statistic, I love my statistics, that he is only behind two other players. I can't remember one of them, but one of them was Erling Haaland, and he had the most shots per 90 minutes in the league. I think Haaland's on like 2.91 and Calvert-Lewin was on 2, and I'm pretty sure there was somebody else in between. But considering, if he could just make that last contact better, we're talking double figures, and, that would be rather nice as long as we keep up with goal contributions from other areas. But we know at the minute that the likelihood is Brendan Aronson isn't going to contribute to those figures, so we do need strikers that can score. So, yeah, I think that so far he's proving to be a very valuable number 9. He gives us an out-ball option. So, yeah, I think that was very good to bring him up. You see, this is what you get if you make notes and, be a good organised person, then you can remember topics like that.
Next week.
Yeah, if you could, Lucy, you're just letting the slide down a little bit. But it's your birthday, so you've got a pass for this week. But, yeah. Right, girls. Well, it has been fabulous, and I will leave it to the man behind the scenes to close off for the evening. So we will see everybody else next week. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Is he going to do it?
It's awkward now.
Do it. This is where he's just not.
It's like when you say bye to a stranger and you end up walking in the same direction.
Yeah, and you have to carry on making that boring chit chat. That's yeah. He's still there. I can see him in the chat. We know he's there.